For understandable reasons, you and your family have obviously been very private about exactly what happened over the last 10 years. Why did you decide to now write about it?
There's a lot of reasons why, but I think the biggest is because I do a lot of public speaking, and every time I speak, someone comes up to me and says, I was raped and I've never told anyone that, or I was kidnapped, or my dad tried to sell me to pay the mortgage on the house. I mean, I have had so many disclosures come to me. And so when I started considering writing a book, that's really one of the main reasons that drove me, because I want to reach out to those survivors and those victims. I want them to know that these things do happen, but that it doesn't mean that you have to be defined by it for the rest of your life. You can move forward and you can be happy.
Was it scary to contemplate writing about it? Because you write in great detail about the physical assaults, about the rape, about all of it.
I thought a lot about what I wanted to put into the book, and I decided that if I was going to write a book, I wanted it to be 100%. I didn't just want to go 10% and sugarcoat the rest. I wanted it to be really what happened and what it was like every single day I was there, because I don't think I'm doing anyone any favors by sugarcoating it.
I mean, you write in the book about the moment you woke up, you're 14 years old, and there's a man in your bedroom with a knife to your throat.
Well, to me, my bedroom is the ultimate place in safety. I mean, I felt like that was the safest place in the world for me. So waking up in the middle of the night in my own bedroom, having this strange man standing over me, someone I didn't recognize, not only that, but having a knife being held to my throat, I was terrified. I had grown up in a very happy home, and I really didn't know what the definition of fear was until that moment. That brought whole new meaning.
Did he say he was going to take it? What did he say in that moment?
He said, I have a knife at your neck. Don't make a sound. Get up and come with me. And then I remember getting up and going with him. And then on the way through my house, he bent over to my ear again and said, if you make any sound, if you do anything that causes any attention or causes someone to come, I not only will kill you, but I will kill anyone who tries to stop me.
And what's going through your mind? I mean, you're 14 years old.
I was praying so hard for an escape. I kept looking, I kept waiting for something to happen, for some way for me to get away. And I kept looking and it didn't happen. And when I didn't see an escape route, I thought, oh my goodness, I'm going to be raped and then I'm going to be murdered, because that's what happens to all the other children I've ever seen on the news who have been kidnapped. I remember stopping him and asking him, well, if you're just going to rape and kill me, could you please do it here? Because in my mind, I wanted my parents to know what had happened to me. I wanted them to know that I hadn't run away, that this wasn't my choosing. I wasn't upset with them. I wanted them to know what happened to me.
So you actually said to him, if you're going to do this now.
Yeah. And I remember he just looked back at me and he said, oh, I'm not going to rape and kill you yet. And then we kept going, and I remember we got a little further and I stopped him again and I said, well, don't you realize what you're doing? I mean, if you get caught, you'll spend the rest of your life in prison. And he looked at me again and he said, well, I know exactly what I'm doing and I know what the consequences are. The only difference is I'm not going to get caught.
Did you meet the woman he was with right away?
I didn't meet her until we had arrived at the hidden camp way up in the mountains.
What did you think when you saw this woman there? Because she was in league with him. She was, I mean, aiding and abetting him.
Well, I was terrified when I got to the camp, but the scariest thing about the camp was this woman.
Really?
Yes, I remember she came out and she had on robes and she had on a headdress, and she came up to me and she hugged me. But this hug was not comforting. I mean, if hugs could speak, this hug would have said, you know, you're mine. You will do exactly what I tell you to do.
And did the assaults begin right away?
The next 9 months, my days consisted of being hungry, of being bored to death because he talked nonstop, always about himself. I mean, talk about self-absorbed. And then my days consisted of being raped. I mean, not just once, multiple times a day.
And you write in the book how just when you think it couldn't get any worse, it got worse?
Oh, every time I thought, okay, this is rock bottom. I mean, my pajamas have been taken away from me. I'm being forced to wear this nasty robe. Next thing I knew, they'd say, right, well, we're going to have you go naked now. Or I had been forced to drink alcohol, which I'd never done before. I would throw up and I would pass out. And when I'd wake up, I'd find that my face and my hair was just crusted to the ground in vomit. I mean, just every time I thought it couldn't get worse, something always happened.
And did, you know, and I've talked to so many kids who have been taken, and often there are those questions, well, did you ever think about running away, about getting away, or why didn't you run away? And I think it's hard for people who haven't been through it and who don't remember that we're talking about children here. You were 14 years old. Psychologically, what change started to go through? Because early on you were talking about looking for an escape. When did that stop?
Well, I'm so glad you bring that point up because it's so true. You can never judge a child or a victim of any crime on what they should have done because you weren't there and you don't know. And you have no right just to sit in your armchair at home and say, well, why didn't you escape? Why didn't you do this? I mean, they just don't know. That's wrong. And I was 14. I was a little girl. And I had seen this man successfully kidnap me. He successfully chained me up. He successfully raped me. He successfully did all these things. What was to say that he wouldn't kill me when he'd make those threats to me? What was to say that he wouldn't kill my family? I eventually came to a point where I was like, okay, one day, somehow, I'm going to survive this. I'm going to get back to my family. So in early March of 2003, we had ended up in California, and they were talking of new places to go, like New York and Boston, and all I could think was, oh my goodness, we can't go to those places because if nobody found me here, why on earth would anybody find me there?